video is an iterative process. And so in those lines, I'm going to be saying the same thing over and over and over again. And the first thing that I'm going to say over and over again is that we had to do a lot of the video over and over again. And even the video that we created is really a draft and is one step, a learning step towards the larger video that we're going to be completing over the course of the next year. Video production is by nature collaborative, just like film production is collaborative. However, there really isn't any such thing as auteur theory in video, just as there's a great deal of skepticism about the auteur theory of film. It takes several people to put this together, at least two, usually more than two. And video is really a blend of science with art, and that's why I'm here. Those of you who know me know that I'm not really on the tech end of things. I'm not really a CS person, but I helped out by writing the script, by bringing what little I knew about video production to this process, and by encouraging us along. So essentially, we're going to talk about the workflow of video production, right? And that leads us to the very source of what we're doing, content. To which this is some of the content that we have hosted up at our website, oral arguments from the New Jersey court. We've listed a number of material for faculty use, a new faculty interview, when faculty appear in video media. So we have both internal and external sources of content, and we use the video internally and externally as well. Just to kind of present you with an example of this, we have approximately 100 hours of internal recordings, 500 hours of oral arguments, and a number of materials of faculty of ours on the news. Here we go through some of this right here. Right, and so just the whole workflow procedure of creating the video.
Yeah, before you creating any video or get into video production, you have to think about procedures that you are going to use. You have to really plan ahead before you get into the video production. And after you get your procedure in mind, make sure you write it down and share with your staff members. Get your staff member properly trained. And after the procedure is deployed, make sure you're monitoring the performance of the procedure and update it as necessary, modify it as necessary, and make sure you update your staff member as well. It's going back to writing down and go through the whole list again. And here is a technical setting that we've used for video, for lecture recordings. As you can see here is here is a shotgun microphone hooked up on a tripod, which the shotgun microphone just points to the presenter and make sure only record the presenter's voice, not others. And we also have the HD camcorder hooked up on a fluid video tripod. And on top of that is a video tripod, because technically video tripod is tripod head and tripod are separate items when you purchase them. So in my configuration, I have the fluid video tripod. There are all kinds of other types that you can choose from. And I have a tripod there, it's actually shown here. And I also have a headphone to monitoring the audio input from the presenter, so that I can make sure the quality is good. And here is the setup on the right. We have, in this case, we have our creator there, a staff member of our school, and he makes sure he takes down the notes that being read on Blackboard. And this system can also be set up automatically so that in some occasions, like reviewing committee board meetings or new faculty interview meetings where privacy and security is a consideration, we just leave the system on automatically. And afterwards, we just collect the system, and only one librarian can post-production the video. Just keep this in a secret way. Afterwards, all video will be posted on a secure website where a login has to be a login. Faculty members or committee members have to use their logins to log in to access the content. And the equipment here, we use actually two types of camcorders. One is this one. It's a tapeless camcorder. It's a technical one. Mainly it's designed for family use, but we use it because it's cost effective. When we bought it, it's like $1,000. And the capacity of this camcorder is 120, which is good enough for 30 a month's worth of recording. And that one is a Canon 5D Mark II camera, but it's still, a lot of people start using it as a camcorder. The downside of that is you can only record 20 minutes long for each clip, and then you have to restart again. With the newest firmware update, you can manipulate all sorts of parameters that you can use. For instance, auto exposure, you can change it to manual, or you can change the photos or black balance to any configuration that you want. This one produced a professional result, but you have to really know how to use it. And on the bottom of that camera is battery compartment. We use 2 batteries for this configuration so that they have long enough running. With 2 batteries of on this camera, you can take a day worth of recording. We tried it, and
No, wait, with the EOS, that doesn't have sound capacity, right?
it does. It has very limited sound capacity because when you change parameters on the camera or operate on the camera, your sound will be recorded. That's why later on I'm going to talk about the off-camera recording, audio recording. And the good thing about that is you can interchange length. That one is a typical wide angle lens, and you can change it to a telescope lens, which has a much more zoom power and has a much accurate focus. But you have to switch between. Totally depends on what you're going to do. That's for fixed or stationary recording. If you are going to do something serious, like moving, and you have to have mount this, but the price is very high. It's like $2,000 to $15,000. If you're not rich, you can do something like this. If you have enough bolts and nuts, you can just come up with the performance steady cam. I built mine over a weekend, and it's pretty good. But you have to add more weight on the bottom there. For the past 4 years, we tried all kinds of different configurations for video production in different environments inside our building. We don't have any light problems. Normally, the interior lights will be good enough. But if you are really serious about lighting, or you want to do a studio kind of shot, you better have this basic configuration, where you have 2 front panel lighting here to light up the front side of the actor, and 2 side panels to light up the background, and 1 feeding light to light up the back side of the actor. That's the basic and the cheapest solution that you want to have.
Notice that in this configuration, the camera will be right here in the front, facing whoever's in the scene.
Yeah, and there is an online tutorial that tell you how to build the front panel, the lighting panel. It's like $20-some again, but I didn't do that because I was worried about fire hazard. So, yeah. Here, just like we said before, audio is very important. Without audio, you don't know what the movie really means. You have to have a shotgun microphone like this, or a wireless microphone like this from Sony, using Bluetooth technology and to do the recording off camera. If you are going to use on camera or built-in microphone on the camera, chances are you may end up with a lot of noise because the camera itself generates has electric interfering with the microphone or the audio. And you can connect. You can connect the shotgun microphone with a digital audio recorder, like this one showing. It's a Zoom H4n. This one, the good thing about it is has a phantom power that can supply power to the shotgun microphone, especially high-end shotgun microphone. High-end shotgun microphones require phantom power, and normally you don't have it because you have to have it on the stick. But this one supplies that kind of power, and it also generates time code automatically. So later on, when you in the post-production, you can pick the video and audio together without problem. Just connect them together, you have a solution for the off-camera audio recording. Or you can try something fancier, just like the movie production. You can have one staff member holding the boom, which hook up the shotgun microphone and take the sound off the camera as well. So you don't need to have the digital voice recorder, but you do have to have something like this, a pre-amplifier. You have to connect the shotgun microphone to the pre-amplifier, then connect to the camera. So you can have a sort of on-camera solution. And we also use Adobe On Location for our post-production. This one is pretty good, but the downside, this one is pretty good when you are doing tapeless recording. We used to have mini DV camcorders hooked up with a laptop and then have this software up and running so that we don't need to convert the mini DV tape later on. Because when you do converting of mini DV tape, it takes 1:1, it has a 1:1 ratio. Meaning 1 hour worth of mini DV tape will take you 1 hour to download the content to your computer. With this software, you don't need to. It can be you can do tapeless recording. But the downside is this one can only work with cameras that are fireware enabled. If your camera has no fireware, you're out of luck. Some software that may be useful for you for the pre-production is Final Draft is for script writing, and Storyboard Pro is for screenwriting, if you know what I'm talking about. And Prompt 7 Lite is a freeware that you can use as a teleprompter when you have to install it on a laptop. The prompter is a commercial software. It costs roughly $200-some, and it's again teleprompter software. For you to do screencast, there are 3 software that I tried and I like them all. Wink, the good part is free, and the downside is it's very complex to use, to me at least. I had very, very nasty experience with it. I use the TechSmith Studio software mainly because it's the best in terms of performance and easy to use. Adobe Captivate is great if you want to generate tutorials, especially Flash-based tutorials, and later on can be posted online. Prompt key is also known as green close or blue close, whatever the term that you want to use. And the reason why they want it's green is because on a typical camera sensor, there are just simply more green pixels than the other two colors. So in other words, you got more background information when you are using green clothes. You can use blue clothes. If you dress up in green, then you can use blue clothes. And here is one example that I'm for still image, where I have a professor holding his book, and later on I just knock out the background easily in Photoshop, and you can replace the background with whatever the background you want to use. You can do the same with motion, with movies.
Right. And so, moving from the technical end of pre-production into the written end of pre-production, we're talking about that brings us to composing the script. The threshold issue with respect to video production script is knowing the form. As you look at this screenshot right here, you can see that it's formatted very distinctly. with dialogue set off, with the name of the speaker set off, with the scene heading set off in a different form, in a different font color. The critical feature of this form is that this form allows you to write up 1 minute in one page. And that's what dictates what would otherwise seem to be the arbitrary nature of the form of the script. Composing your script in this format is pretty critical, because by looking at the number of pages you have in your script, you get to see how long your video is. A 5-page video will take about, a five-page script will take about 5 minutes of visual time. One thing that's critical to remember is that the script never tells the reader, who would presumably be the camera person in this case, when to zoom, when to pan. The script describes that which the viewer should see. It never describes what the camera should do. In short, the script is the written iteration of the plot, which is everything you see on the screen. The cardinal rule in shooting any visual media is that you record motion. You don't create motion. And to this end, the script should show the motion through writing rather than telling the camera what motion to make, because the camera, we don't want it to make any motion. And that's for the comfort of our viewers. There are a number of script writing software platforms that we had mentioned, but it's also really easy to find script templates for free online at, for example, the Microsoft Office templates page. And this is where I downloaded, and where you can download quite easily a pre-programmed video script, film script template to use, which includes preset styles for title, for the character who's speaking, for dialogue, that which the character is saying, scene headings, trans in and out, action, and then name and identifying indicia for the cover page. And as I keep saying, this is an iterative process. The more you shoot, the better you get. The better you get, the more you shoot. When we get to, if we have time to show our video, you'll see plenty of examples of things to avoid. And one of them, apparently, is that when you're on video, you probably shouldn't be wearing seriously. Well, anyways, I'll summarize a few other key points to think about as we're approaching video at large. Working the iterative process, one thing that really helps more than anything else is to do each shot over and over again, to run through it over and over again, to block it out, to run it through without taping, right, or recording digital video, right, run it through blind, run it through on a fake, run it through a couple more times before you decide to try a take that you can keep. Don't plan on getting your shots right in the first take. Don't plan on getting your shots right in the third take, right? It's also not a bad idea to sketch out a shot in advance, and we'll show one of these in a second. In terms of aesthetic composition, the composition of the frame, you want to keep in mind that the ideal frame follows a rule of thirds, separating each shot into generally equal rows of thirds, vertically and horizontally, 9 sort of equal spaces, composing the shot that help you create a balanced composition. That pleases the eye. Kind of like a tic-tac-toe board. Think of your viewfinder as a tic-tac-toe board. Try to fill it, in a symmetrical or an otherwise balanced manner. As I said earlier, don't overuse the zoom. Don't overuse the pan. You want to keep your camera as still as you can, and that's why Steadicams cost so much money, and when Steadicams are a little bit tricky to use. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to cross the 180-degree line, and I'll talk about that in a second. But for now, keep this in mind. If you start shooting from the left side of your subject, you want to keep on that side of your subject, no matter where you end up moving the camera for pivot or for perspective. As we said earlier, record the motion. You don't want to make the motion. And finally, just keep practicing. Now, this schematic demonstrates what I mean by the 180-degree rule, and it's fairly simple, okay? If you're back in your library and you decide to make a video. So you've got a standard video shoot, as all of us do, we have these stock figures running around our library, pushing together these giant puzzle pieces, and we want to record that because that's really essential to the work that we do. So you sketch the shot out. Here's where your action is. Here's where you're going to place the camera. Okay? This red line right here represents the 180-degree line. You can film from any position on this side of the line. If you start filming here, and there my mouse will kind of agree a little bit, but you don't want to cross this line when you're filming. That's going to create, on the viewer's end, that's going to create a rather vertiginous sensation. And the viewer is going to lose track of where the spaces are, where the figures are in the diegetic space, in the space on the screen. So, in short, if you start shooting on this side, you want to make sure that you're always shooting on this side, no matter how you end up moving the camera for a variety of scenes. Crossing over to this side is a big no-no. It's going to make your viewer dizzy. And unless that's your intent, and you want to create some sort of a surrealistic library video, you want to stay on one side of the line. So to sum up, these basic tips are captured overall in the nearly identicals 1 and 6 here. These central points, 3 and 4, are not just the middle of the list. They're also central to the logic of visual media, which again has your audience trusting you that you're not going to be jumping into vertigo with your production. Just as a very brief frolicking detour, if you're familiar at all with early film, very early film, like the Edison reels, like the work of Muybridge, you know that these are very simple, very basic compositions. A lot of what we know now from the early history of cinema, this tends to be fairly quotidian scenes. Street scenes, maybe a fair of some sort, some event, but there's not a lot of really sort of imaginative composition. And that's because even still to this day, I think, but especially in the early days of cinema, it was a very disorienting art form, and it was the kind of thing that really made people dizzy. That seems like second nature to us. We've all grown up around visual media. We all know and understand visual media. It's easy for us to forget how fundamentally disorienting visual media can be, and one of the ways that you can address that in your production is the same simple stuff. Keep the camera straight and steady, and don't cross that line of perspective. For lighting, as Wei suggested, we solved lighting in our shooting just by shooting during the day. That meant that we didn't have to deal with any other lighting problems. And that's what I would recommend, especially in your early video work. We also addressed sound issues by not recording sound with the shot. We ended up processing the sound separately through voiceover and through post-production. And if you're shooting in a library, or if you're shooting in any working area, actually shooting without sound makes that much easier. You don't have to worry about controlling the ambient sound. You don't have to worry about controlling anybody around you. You don't have to worry about controlling the scene. You just concentrate on what is visually in front of you, what's going to create that visual, that diegetic space. And just to be a librarian, a lot of this stuff I picked up from the Knight Digital Media Center, which is hosted at the University of California, Berkeley. Their grad school has a fantastic online media library, including a number of really useful tips for aspiring digital videographers. They offer reliable and easy to follow tutorials on the gamut of media related topics, not just video techniques, like this page shows you, but the basics of reportage, audio recording, photography, mashups. They have tutorials on Flash. They have tutorials on the access of public records and on data visualization. It's an amazing, fantastic free resource with a fine collection of webcasts and presentations. And after, of course, the shooting, we jump into editing here, and we get back into some hardware issues.
Well, talk about hardware. Right now, nowadays, when you're processing high definition recordings, you really need a powerful machine to process them. Because for a 1080p recording, it can be up to 2 giga. for just 20 minutes, whereas 1 hour of standard recording just like also 2 gig, but it's 1 hour. When I talk about high definition, I consider anything above 720 by 480 or high definition, and 720 by 480 below that are standard definition or lower resolution. 720 by 480 I think is the standard that they use for DVD productions. And when you are trying to install the newest version of Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects, you have to use a 64-bit machine to be able to install it. One thing that I want to mention is that you have to have a powerful enough system to back up whatever you do, because all these recordings are very large. If your hardware is running out of space, you're out of luck. And therefore, your backup system has to be equally as large as your premium storage place. Software I used are including Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects. That's my two favorite software. I also used Apple iMovie for some basic productions and Final Cut Pro 2 years ago, I think. The reason why I stopped is because Apple keeps updating their hardware, and I just simply have no money to go further. Microsoft Windows Movie Maker is a freeware that's available from Microsoft website, which is Microsoft rarely do that because it's free. Always on money. Sony Vegas Pro is another software that's very easy to use and equally as powerful as Premiere Pro. And I also suggest you to use Adobe Soundbooth because they are the same family, and Adobe Soundbooth is very powerful with audio editing too. And it's integrated with Premiere Pro. Audacity, if you don't have the luxury to buy this, you can use Audacity for free. It's a free software. You can encode audio into different formats as well. Now talk about formatting. Formatting is really a zoo. There are a lot of over 100 some different formats, but they all follow the same structure, where you have one file, and in that file you can encode your radio with different codecs. Just like a zip file, you open up one zip file, you have a list of files in that particular zip file. I just listed some my favorite format here. Flash Video, it has its own FLV codec for both audio and video, or you can use MP3 for audio. Windows Media has its own, and QuickTime has its own codec for that. Nowadays, the most popular format is MP4 or MP4. It uses H.264 for video content and uses AAC for audio codec. I'm using MP4 with my Flash content because it can be integrated into Flash Player rather easily. Before, I don't know any of you remember before the days of Flash. It's just like Mac. You have on Mac machine, especially if you don't have a Windows machine. Here, showing here, there you have a Windows Movie Player. If you're a Mac user, you might end up like this, because Windows has no plugin for Mac. It's 2 years ago. According to Adobe, Flash can be reached by 98% of the internet users. Can be reached means Flash content, games, video, and so on. Video, also according to Adobe, 70% of online video content are Flash compatible. So it's really has a popularity here. Most of news agency and price and universities or social networks, they use Flash for their video as well. For instance, Stanford University, they have Flash player upfront. Okay. And in our particular case, based on our Google Analytics tracking, we have I think 100% of users that have some sort of Flash player installed on the machine. So we don't have any problem changes.
What about mobile users?
Mobile
Like-
user. Well, right now there is a war going on
Right.
between Apple and Adobe. We don't, our premier target are desktop users. We don't design any specific services or
For mobile devices?
apps for mobile devices. Because we are a law library, and there is no point for them to watch our oral argument while they are on the train. They don't like it. They want to do something like watching video or YouTube videos or even a fact, or your argument. Who are interested in that? Well, they already have enough. They are in the school, so they don't want to keep other. That's my guess. I don't have any statistics. When you are trying to, sure.
Real quick, in speaking to that question you just said about mobile devices, one of the things that we found, we did the same type of analysis. We were trying to determine, okay, are we going to support our Flash users? Are we going to deal with our smart device users? And what we found was that things like 60 to 70% of all web browsing that's done from a smart device is being done through our iDevice, right? So that's when we started moving away from Flash a little bit. We started incorporating MP4 using AAC for our audio coding. And one of the things that we're considering now, one of the questions I have for you is, with Google coming out with a new open codec, it's going to be it's completely open source. We haven't decided how we're going to deal with that yet. Have you?
We didn't decide what we are going to do that either, because although it's open, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be popular.
Supporting, exactly.
Yeah, and you have to really see how hardware and software are coming up supporting that particular format. What I'm interested in terms of future is HTML5. Yeah, that one, according to what I read, you can use MP4 format with HTML5, and just with a tag you can just call it, without any plugin. Well, that probably for 2 years from today we can talk about it later. Not today. Today we just focus on Flash, which we are using primarily. We also use Windows Media Player format, but it's kind of obsolete. So.
Do you survey your incoming students to see what laptops are bringing in, whether they're Microsoft or Mac?
Our library, I'm working for a library. We don't do survey for the incoming students, but our law school, they do a survey on
what have you found in terms
I think 40% of new students, they use some sort of Mac machine.
And did you find our trend is that it's increasing?
Yeah, it's increasing.
Right.
But
Are you seeing iPads? Because they'll have the same issue, but it's not the same kind of screen size, so they may have this
Yeah.
whole, and then Flash doesn't work.
yeah,
So,
especially after AT&T reduced it.
I don't want to be a naysayer, but and I appreciate your short-term reason to go to Flash. But if you're making an investment for the future that you want to stay with, it seems as if we're having to support both. Do you have any recommendations on how to do that?
We have to. Yeah, Flash is playable cross-platform.
Except for mobile devices.
Except for the mobile devices. And actually,
except for Apple.
Well, we are in a law school environment. We are in a law school environment based on our content. I don't see that a lot of people will use their mobile devices for their, for their videos. I mean, outside, it could be true. It can be very popular, But I think they are just using YouTube to search up for the social networks.
I think that Wei has a really good point, that the resolution of this question with regard to mobile devices is going to be next year's presentation, or the presentation for the year after. Because we are clearly in one of these transition moments. And as happens in a lot of these transition moments, the eventual solution is something that's neither likely when you're in the middle of it, and also completely obvious when you're looking backward. So,
but we can't decide.
I just feel like I'm going to see a lot of iPads in the fall, and I know, but they're awesome devices. devices.
Well, after Adobe and Acrobat settled, probably gonna know better.
Firefox right now has a browser called Cloud Browse, which enables Flash on mobile devices like iPhone and Mac.
What's it called?
iPad as well. It's Cloud Browse from Firefox.
But one thing you have to keep in mind is that AT&T does reduce its data plan, and you can only, chances are you may just end up using Wi-Fi anyway. Right? Because right now the limit is 2 giga per month. If you're viewing video a lot through the 3G network, your bill will be high. Yeah. And if you are using Wi-Fi, chances are you may just have a computer desktop nearby, right? And you might bother.
Unless you have an unlimited data package.
Yeah, they change the plan. I mean,
Yeah, but
I
those of
think a
us who
lot of
have them
students
get to
get
keep our stuff.
just think about it. How many people will use this precious data plan to view law school's video content? You know, just the content that we mentioned.
I don't know. I mean, all I know is I see them coming to the desk with a site saying, I'm looking for, wait a minute, and they find their citation. So I don't know how that information got into their phone,
Yeah.
but they're definitely using it as part of the process.
Yeah. Just,
I ride the Long Island Railroad every day, and I got to tell you that everybody's using a smartphone to do everything, and to even think that no one's using the smartphones to view larger is really not seeing the mark.
We're talking about our particular law school environment. I can't just say every law school follow me.
No, what I'm saying is it's the metropolitan people traveling back and forth. I mean, I would lose 4 hours a day if I didn't use my smartphone for everything. And
Yeah.
really not being able to support that is kind of selling it.
We can try to catch up, but I don't think Flash will be an issue here because I think Apple and Adobe eventually will settle down.
I don't know.
Because I think Adobe, right now the issue is Apple has, I think,
They're really pushing HTML5,
Right.
so.
yeah, anyhow, let me
Sorry.
I agree with you that with AT&T making the change to decrease the unlimited and capping it, I have seen a trend on public transportation, because I take it, with Wi-Fi options on buses, on trains. So I don't, just because people may increase the way that they're using their wireless router, I see Wi-Fi going up.
all right. Well, let's see that from 2 years from now. Hopefully you're right. And then, well, in the future, we may just design some ads, targeted. Yeah, that's simple. I mean, as long as Flash is available. Plus, the fact that we're using MP4, so there's really no re-encoding. You know, we just keep using the same MP4 there, except if you use a different container. You know, so there's really no issue. If they decided stop using Flash, or Flash is not playable on most of the smartphones, then we just use HTML5 or newer technologies come out that suppose the MP4. So it's really not the issue. Whereas if you use Windows Media video format in your school. Oh yeah. When you're trying to create Flash content with your own Flash player, you can use these two software. One is called Adobe Flash Cs5, which is designed for graphic designers, or Flex Builder, which is designed for programmers. And here is the interface of the Flash CS and the interface of Flash Builder. I use Flash Builder. When you do encoding, you have to use encoders. Adobe has an encoder that comes free with Premiere Pro, and you can use Super, Audacity, or Goldwave, this kind of software to as a solution for your audio and video encoding. Or you can use FFTE. The reason why I mention it is because it supports command line processing, meaning that I can use a PHP script, which I'm going to show you later, to code that software and do a batch processing very easily. And it supports many operating systems. Well, my favorite encoder is Meteor Coder, and because it's complex to use, but it supports a lot of functions. And here, if you notice, you can not only do encoder with it, you can also do split video with it by changing the mode. And you have different video codecs that's built in and containers built in. So it's very powerful, but a little bit complex to use. Or you can try Handbrake. It's another software that can be used for audio. And it has some existing templates there that you can just use directly. This one I used to be my favorite, and because this has a lot of different templates, and it was fairly easy to use, but I just stopped using it because I love Meteor Coder better. And now we're talking about hosting. There are two ways that you can host your stuff, except burning them on the DVD.
What if I had iPads 10?
Thank you, Marty. Well, if you decided to go online services such as YouTube and iTunes U, you may end up contracting with this kind of service providers. And chances are your storage space are limited. And we have some law school professors that said specifically that they don't want their recordings on this website because of copyright. They just simply say something that they don't want to share with the public, or they just want to keep their lecture notes in a secret way. But it's good because it's, you don't have much maintenance need to do. You just upload, and YouTube or service provider will do the rest for you. Whereas in-house, if you do it in-house, then you might end up maintaining the server every day. But you have almost unlimited storage space, and you can make sure the services will not be offline anytime soon. And just a nice reminder for you, what's going on if YouTube is on. You've got no access to your clip at all. And when you are doing that in-house, you can have two ways to do the video. One is streaming them down from a streaming server. Another one is to do progressive downloads through HTTP port. I prefer progressive download because I host most of my video content on a dedicated web server. I don't want to get involved with firewalls because a lot of firms, they have firewall protections, and if we do streaming, chances are those people who work for the law firms, they may have a problem accessing. And streaming also have a limited number, when you try to connect to the streaming server at the same time. I think the number is 20 or something like that based on your license and configurations. And probably already know these terms. I just want to mention the SWF because it's the container for all the Flash content. Basically, you just dump the material into SWF using the author, using the software that I just mentioned, and then it can be deployed across on desktop or on web page either. And Flash is good for ads and games, especially, and we just use it for video. We've generated over 200 hours of audio recordings for podcasts, and we have 100 plus hours of video content. And we also try to host PDFs in Flash Player and generate courseware, interactive courseware for our faculty members. And when you are trying to play back video, Flash video, you should use some of these players. Adobe Media Player and Media Player Classic are free, but you have to install them on a dedicated machine. Whereas GWFLV Media Player, you can embed it into a web page, and you can just view the content over the night. And here is the interface of this software. And when we are trying to embed, that's the way we used to, but now we just use MP4 directly, because everything is being generated. Before, we have to convert video files into FLV files, because FLV has a particular format that we have to follow. And then we embed the code into web page. And it's great for cross-platform video representation. Probably not true for smartphones or mobile devices, but at least for desktop it's true. And here's one example that we've done. A lot of our professors prefer this way because they have to type in our university login in order to access the data. This particular one is the one that I generated for our new faculty interview committee. When they are doing a hiring process, a lot of faculty members, they can't gather together for one meeting. So they want to view how the candidate perform. So they would prefer to view the content all over the internet. And the content is very private and kind of secret. So we just put it behind our secure server and with the login protection. And that's how it looks. We also have our own online video repository, which is still under development. And I'm taking sabbatical for that. And where you can fill in the request form, and at the designated time, one staff member will deploy the recording equipment and do the recording for you. Afterwards, you just upload, the staff member will upload the video to the internet, and online, we convert everything online. And then a web page will be generated automatically, and the URL will be sent to the faculty member. And that faculty member is in charge to send out to his student or her students. And we use Ubuntu for server software because it's free and it's lab ready. So it's configured. We don't need to do much configuration, except we have to install RedFab, which is a streaming server on it. And if you really have enough money, you can just buy the Flash Media server. It has a lot of nice features, balance, etc. But it's very costly.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can anyone request any kind of video, or is there?
I don't have any reason. We have a video request form.
Right.
Yeah, you have to fill in, you have to specify what kind of.
Well, what if someone's requesting something that's? I guess my question is there any limit on what folks can request, or can they request any recordings that have been done?
We don't care.
Okay.
But we do have an agreement with our law school IT office because they are providing similar services to our faculty members as well. They use iTunes U and YouTube. And the difference between IT office and the library is we decide whether the content should be archived. If the content should be archived, then they do the job.
Okay.
Otherwise, they do the job. But the content will be erased because they have very limited storage space. We are a library after all. So. Just like I said, I use a PHP script and code MPEG through a command line and converting the video and put it in a specific folder, and then use spread files to do the streaming if I decided to stream the content. And this is the example. No connection. Do the converting here with this command line and showing a typical spread. And then it's there. This is our route or spring program.
And so that brings us full circle back to the project that we were working on. And there you can see in front of you the screenshot of the script that we composed here, according to format. The process was fairly simple. I delivered the script away. We analyzed the script, broke it down into a shot list that combines the shots in the script with the equipment we needed to shoot the shots, as it were. In recording this, and there's us hard at work, right? The way the videographer and me, the skeptic. There I am recording the voiceovers. Like I said, we decided to do voiceovers rather than videotape audio, or rather than tape or record the audio live on set or in the library. Here's the sound, the audio post-production, right? And here's the audio post-production after noise reduction. And then there is the, this is the post-production software.
Premiere Pro.
Premiere Pro.
You just dump everything, all the material you have, and generate the timeline there. And here you can get all sorts of effects, and you can preview.
And this is where we did all the editing, right on the screen.
Yeah, we used the Core 2 Duo. It sucks. Probably you need a powerful machine too, a much better machine, i7 or something like that to do that, to perform single draws.
So we decided to do a presentation on it in the hopes of getting a grant and getting a better machine. We'll keep you posted. We'll let you know how that goes. Okay.
I was wondering how many resources do you guys have as far as bodies and staff? That's a very time-consuming process.
It's actually only took us 2 hours for doing the real editing.
The shooting and the editing.
Yeah.
But it's a 5-minute video, right?
Yeah.
And it's, if we have time, you'll see, it is a very, very, it is still a rough draft in a lot of ways. But yeah, no, we scrambled in order to answer your question. And here's, go ahead.
One thing that I want to mention is we only do this thing for tutorials that we want to generate. We don't do it open. So others, Supreme Court or argument or lecture notes, we don't do that. We don't need to do anything at all. We just dump them in our template, and it just generates automatically.
Yeah, I guess the secret there is if you have the content all ready to go, you just turn on the camera, and there you are. That makes it much, much easier, and we're not going to be editing any of the justices for any reason. So here is what it looks like when it's put up on our website, and you can watch it live. Sort of to sum up, right? I guess Wei can speak to this better than I can, but it seems that he's talking about being mindful of the limitations of Flash and Adobe, and I don't want to open up that whole can of worms again. That's obviously a very contentious topic. This is some of the software that we used. And that brings us to the wrap of our prepared comments, and we have more questions.
Yes. Do you automate any part of the process? For example, capturing, are the cameras already built in, and you can manage the cameras from a remote location?
I forgot to mention.
How about also the actual posting on the website? Is that an automated process?
For posting on the website, we do have automatic process. But for capturing, in terms of using a smart classrooms equipment, our school is kind of special because our equipment are back to 2000, where we have VHS tapes in the classroom. It's just out of date. We have to do all analog recording, not digital recording at all. And afterwards, usually we used to do, converting the VHS tapes. It's very time consuming again, so we don't do that often. That's why when the library is doing recordings, we just have our own equipment. Everything is digital, no convert. That's sort of a low-cost conversion. So everything can be done online.
Hi, is it just the two of you who do this?
No.
How many is your staff?
We have 2 staff members to do the recording.
And that's all they do?
Yeah.
I mean, they have other tasks as
They
well.
have other tasks, but-
Right, but in terms of but it's their responsibility to also run the cameras during events.
usually the event is quite short. It's only 1 hour or 2 hours long. If we need more people, we can just call for
Like
it.
when we have events at night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have evening staff members, and they all have to be trained before they can operate on the.
Any questions? Just one other comment. You mentioned that what reasons you chose not to use YouTube. Another reason that could be an issue, especially for law schools, if you want to put up anything longer than 10, 20 minutes on YouTube, you have to have an academic account.
Right. Yeah,
YouTube restricts academic accounts officially to 1 per university. So if your university already has one, it's difficult to get in there. So there's a lot of issues with that.
And you have to upload the clips separately.
Yeah, you have to put up clips already that show you have academic content before they'll allow you an academic account, but how do you do that for something that's never shorter than 10 minutes? So that's something we're
Somehow the ideology says to go through that.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because there are actually a number of, I mean, that's one of many problems. There's a whole host of problems with YouTube, including the very helpful comments, which can make it difficult for, if your institution is currently branding or rebranding and so forth, you can turn them off, but then that also goes towards the branding and the rebranding of the institution. So, yeah, there's a number of reasons why we don't use YouTube.
Just as a note about Flash Cs5, there's an educational discount, and it's about $1,800 instead of $4,500.
Yeah, probably should try that. For this, for runners, we don't have even license.
Yeah, okay, we only have 2 minutes left, so I guess we're going to pass on the video. Thank you very much. Appreciate your attention. I mean, this equipment that we have is pretty much what we've been using.
Because people are looking at me saying, let's go 16.9, you know, let's.
I mean, you can look at this.
Yeah, and that's
everything that we use.
Then you can do it in 20 minutes.
Well, right. But again, we're only doing, you know,
whether there's something on it,
yeah, this is HC2. This is a very small video that we did. We shot in, you know, like 15 to 30 seconds. We have a steady handy cam that we use. It's not HD.
They can slide their
Because we're not quite doing that special. We're just, you know, making it available.
And that's why I think it's really unique. I can think about there's one of the days that I'm trying to that's why I'm in audio.
Yeah, it's because it's hard. That's the built-in one. I mean, we're the
Exactly. So actually thinking about, okay, this is the way people actually work, how do we make it?
Because one of the things that we have been trying to do,
no, it's just like, yeah, like the last right? Not just service, but actually something that is just because that's something that's I mean, like, when we got our digital library, just sat down with one of our staff, we're super excited about it. Tell us all about it. And then we'll write on the guide, and then other way, because you know, if you actually have to provide that service, then you will probably change your mind, let it go. But I don't want to hear that. It's actually, and I think it's more than an iPad.
That's a whole different story. But yeah, no, they're either audio.
It's actually a platform. That's so iPad or whatever you have.
Well, I mean, he bought it a couple years ago.
So I'm thinking that something.
Right. I have one around because like probably it's like only years ago. I just got it last year. I just buy it.
What I'm really looking for is the instruction. I think I can do that.
Projector. Unless there's specific programs that are they synchronize the writing test and then they can print it.
Exactly. You know, and those prices seem to be stabilized as well.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
You can use like Keynote software, which is a PowerPoint, and you're actually demoing.
Well, a lot of that resolution really does get done in post.
So that was
not going to have it.
If you go streaming, you're not. That's the thing.
That's one of the things that makes sense. You record it anyway, then we can clean it up later.
Right.
And I demo it. Right. The thing is that I'm going for
live streaming. I don't know. What do you think? He's talking about best cameras for live streaming.
But they're imposing so many.
Yeah, I'm glad that's live streaming.
That's really.
We got to play. You're really ready to run.
Yeah, I mean,
I will not suggest. No.